Can you guys hear me now? Let me know. Still no sound? No sound. Any better, guys? Did I changed the microphone? Still no sound? Oh, Debbie's saying yes. Landa's saying yes. Yay. Thanks, guys. Yeah, my computer keeps trying to switch microphones on me, so I've been having a little bit of difficulty with this from my last couple of demos. So I thought I had it handled this time, but then no. Okay, so from the beginning, welcome jewelry makers. Thank you for being here. I'm Tracy with TierraCast. TierraCast is a US manufacturing company. We make jewelry components. We're a casting shop, which means we cast our charms and beads and toggle clasps and all kinds of great stuff in lead-free pewter here in our shop in Northern California. And we also like to provide a lot of inspiration. So we have a website with an inspiration section. I'm going to plug a couple of links in here, guys. The first one is just going to be a link to the project that I'm going to be demoing today. Actually, no, the first one's going to be to our inspiration section in general, to the TierraCast website inspiration section. And the second one will be to the project itself that we're demoing. So yeah, we have a section on our website. We like to provide inspiration to show people how to use TierraCast products in their jewelry making. And if you're joining me live, thank you. Love to see you. I'm seeing lots of friends popping in, Debbie and Nancy and Rosalinda. And thank you for alerting me that my volume wasn't working earlier. And if you're coming in and if you're finding this video later, we hope that you will explore more TierraCast jewelry making videos. We have a YouTube channel. Let me just pop this in there too. We have, of course, the inspiration section on our website. Hopefully this link will work. The inspiration section on our website. If a jewelry project has a live video, there's a link in that inspiration page. So, okay. Let me know if everything's okay, guys. I'm getting a little error message. I don't know what it means. Hopefully it's nothing important. So anyway, what's our demo today? I am going to share my screen so that I can show you guys what we got going on. So this is a project. My light seems a little bit glaring today. The project is a simple one that we did for our finishing touches launch, and that happened. Our finishing touches launch was in the fall of 2019, I want to say. Whoops, I'm plugging a link in there if I can get it to behave. Finishing Touches was a group of components that was intended for completing your jewelry design. So it had a lot of endings, like these cord ends. A little more light on the subject, had cord ends and our crimp ends and our stitch-in products, all kinds of great stuff. So there's a link there to that collection. You can see all the good stuff that was included when we launched that group. So this particular little design was really done to highlight our 2mm cord ends. We created these to fit with obviously 2mm cord or 1.5mm cord. And then to attach them, you can either use adhesive or you can use a crimping technique. So that's what I'm going to show you guys today. I want to change my little screen setup. Might take me a second. There we go. So that I finally figured out how to get my other camera in as a guest so that I can actually still be on screen when I'm talking to you guys and still have the demo cam showing. So hopefully this works well today. So as I was saying, these crimp components, or these cord end components, can be attached either with adhesive like E6000 or GS hypocement works well. A gel super glue, or even a super glue that you can just drop in there, works very well. There's a particular super glue we like called super new glue. It's a liquid super glue, but it's not too runny, and it works super well with leather. We like that one. But I'm not going to demonstrate the gluing today. It is a simple thing. You take your adhesive, you drop a little bit in there, you insert the end of your cord, and then you would allow that to dry. You would make sure your cord's all the way in there, and then if you're using adhesive, you just allow that to dry. So the gluing's easy. What's fun is using tools to actually crimp these. So I can show you, we use a couple of different tools for that. We like to use these large crimping pliers. These ones are, often you can find these out there by searching for mighty crimpers. So they're just a really nice large crimping plier. And then you can also do this by just using the tips of your chain nose pliers. And either one of those techniques is going to give a slightly different, a different effect on the crimp. So this one, I hope you guys can see this if I bring it in close, get a little more light on it. We can set that down. Here we go. This one has been crimped with the crimping pliers. So what I do is I tuck that crimp end into the rear notch, the one that's got the little tooth. If you have been doing jewelry making and do stringing, you're probably familiar with crimping pliers. You know that they have a round, a more oval opening at the front end of the jaws, and then the C-shaped opening at the back of the jaws. So that rear notch is the one we're going to work with, and it's got that little tooth, and you just put it over the crimp, fits kind of perfectly, and then you can squeeze that down to secure it. So I'm going to show both. I'm going to show both of the techniques, or both of the tools to do this. So this stack, what is so fun about it? It's a very simple design. It's just the cord, the crimp ends, a lobster clasp, and then a little section of spacers. What makes it fun, of course, is that there's a big stack, and they're super colorful. Debbie is asking if it matters what adhesive we use with our findings. Debbie, we like, I was mentioning super new glue. E6000 will work. GS Hypo Cement is great because it has that great needle nose, but I do find that it doesn't hold quite as well as the super glue formula. So we like the super glues of the EX1000. Am I saying that right? E6000. Got confused about the name of the adhesive. You guys do please throw questions into the comments. I do try to keep an eye on them, and we'll answer them if I can. So I'm going to do 2 of these little bracelets. I'm going to choose some different colors than I already used in this stack. And I also thought it might be fun to mix in like some charms or something. The original design, of course, has just the 5mm nugget large hole spacers. I have a link for those spacers that I can throw in. That's a nice little collection of spacers that are made to work with large stringing materials like leather cords. So it's a nice little group of stuff to peruse. I'll throw that in there. But we have more than just this little nugget spacer, the 5mm nugget spacer. We have a 7mm nugget spacer, and we have a faceted spacer. So I thought it might be fun to do one of the variations, mixing up some of the spacers. And as I think I started to say and got sidetracked, thought it might be fun to throw in a charm. So I was kind of trying to stick with the summery theme, although I did find myself having a little bit of a hard time resisting going fall colors, but we're not there yet. Sticking with the summers. So I think this feels like, well, no, that's getting a little fallish. Let's use this lavendery cord to start with. So I only need about a 6-inch piece of that, because when I add my clasp and my toggle and my cord ends, that's going to add about 1 inch of length to the bracelet. So if I'm going for a 7-inch bracelet, which is kind of just an average length for a bracelet, right? 6 inches should work well for this. And of course, if you're needing to make larger or smaller, this is where you would adjust. You would just cut your cord a little shorter or a little longer. So let's do, you know what? I'm going to use, there's 2 designs in these little 2mm cord ends. One is called our palace and one is called our temple. The temple has a beautiful little pattern on it. Come over here so I can get it under the light. And then the palace has more of a plain barrel. So I think that we'll be able to see what I'm doing if I stick with the palace ones instead of the temple. And I also need to avoid cluttering up our workspace too much so you guys can see what's going on. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is just tuck the end into the cord end, and it's important to make sure that that is tucked all the way in there, because you don't want to crimp it and then find out that you didn't have it quite tucked in there all the way and it pulls right out, because there's no going back once you've crimped it. So I've got it, I'm making sure it's set all the way down in there, and then I'm just going to take the front part of the pliers of some chain nose pliers, and I'm going to set those onto the barrel. And again, making sure this is still tucked in there well, I'm just going to squeeze that. So you do need to squeeze pretty firmly. Pewter is a relatively soft metal. Now you can see how it's flattened and crimped. But you do still need to give it a pretty firm squeeze. So then I went at it from this direction first, and now I'm rotating the whole thing, and I'm going to come at it from the other direction and squeeze again. And then I'm very carefully, you can see how that's flattened. It's not too squished, but it's definitely flattened, and I want to test it and make sure that it's holding. If it felt loose at all, I would just repeat my crimping a little bit to make it, to make sure that it was secure. It feels good. So now here's where I get to decide what kind of a little collection of spacers I'm going to put on there. And I was imagining mixing up some different finishes and some different sizes of the spacer. And again, I might want to throw a charm in there. So I think, there's some possibility with this design. You can, if you're going to add a little charm, our opposed loop charms work great for this. They have a nice big bail, and we call them opposed because the charm doesn't sit on the same plane as, the loop doesn't sit on the same plane as the charm. It's set perpendicular so that you can string this charm directly onto something instead of attaching a jump ring. Joyce, this is a 2mm leather. I did throw a link to this project into the comments earlier, and that gives you all the details of the parts and the instructions. So you can look it up and get all the details. You could certainly do this project with 1.5mm leather as well. Just make sure that you're crimping secure enough to hold that thinner leather. So I'm kind of guessing how many I want to put on here. And then I'm going to put that little, that's looking wonderful. I love it. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. I used 4 of the smaller brass ones and 3 of the larger pewter finish ones. We have these nugget spacers in 2 different silver tone finishes. One is very bright and is our white bronze. And then we also have a more muted one that's just an antique pewter finish. And we liked having those 2 variations of a silver tone because some people like the bright and some people prefer a more rustic look. Sandra is asking if you can purchase from our website. We are a wholesale manufacturer, so you would need to fill out an application to see if you qualify as a wholesale buyer. But a lot of our products are available widely in jewelry supply companies. So the best way, if you're shopping retail, the best thing to do is, of course, if you have a local bead store, if you're lucky enough to have a local bead store, try there first. If you don't, a lot of the big online bead supply vendors carry a wide variety of TierraCast product, and I'm also throwing in a link to the comments that goes to our store locator page on our website, and that will kind of give you a nice list of companies that sell TierraCast product. So where are we? One more 7mm and one more 5. And these won't stay in place because they're 2mm, slightly larger than 2mm hole. You know, we created these large hole spacers to fit nicely on a 2mm cord or smaller. But there's a little looseness, so there'll be some movement. These are going to slide around unless you do something to secure them in place at the ends, which you could do with, you could do a little wire wrapping if you wanted them to stay there. You could put some glue under these 2 end spacers to keep everything in place. I like that they move, so I'm not going to do anything to make them stationary. Let's see, does TierraCast ever have sales? Well, again, Debbie, we don't sell retail, so we don't do sales. And I'm using the chain nose pliers again and just making sure that my cord is all the way inside before I squeeze that down. And testing it without pulling hard, because I do want to make sure that I don't test it and it pops off. So I'm testing it very carefully, just for a little bit of movement. And that's pretty good. And the last step for this is we're just going to attach a lobster clasp and a jump ring for it to attach to. So lobster clasp on one side. I'm using small oval jump rings to attach to the to the cord ends. And then I'm using a 5mm-ish jump ring. This isn't the one I want though. I want the heavier gauge. This one is a 16 gauge jump ring. It's a little bit heavier. And then I'm just attaching that to that second small oval jump ring. There we go. I like that with the added charm. And I don't even think that, I think that you could still just mix that in with that stack. All of these original ones are all the same, but might add some variety if that just got mixed in with that. All right, next, since we're still in summer mode, what's our next summery color? I think I have a hard time resisting a turquoise, you guys. It's sort of one of my go-to colors. And again, I'm just going to cut about a 6-inch piece. And now I'm gonna, for one thing, I'm gonna use a different color just for the fun of it. If I can find some of the plain ones in the brass, that's what I want to use. Is that going to show up well for to demo though, or should I stick with the silver? I'm going to stick with silver. Best laid plans. I just think the silver shows up easier for you guys to see. All right, so again, we're just going to pop that cord end onto the end of our cord. And this time we're going to use the crimping pliers. So I'm using the rear notch that has the little tooth in it. And I'm going to just set that over the barrel, make sure my cord's all the way in there, and give that a squeeze. And then you can leave it, once you test that, if it feels secure, you're good. So you've got it left one side of that barrel rounded and it put a notch in the other side. Showing up a little bit, you can see it. Or I can turn it around and go for symmetry and make a notch on the other side just so it's kind of even. And that's good. And if I want, if it feels like it's kind of really squished, then I can go in with that front notch and kind of shape it. And that feels very secure. And now we need to decide what kind of spacers to use. I would love to use, we have these other ones called our faceted spacers. And I think that those will look really pretty. And I really want to use this little sun charm because that's another one of my favorite summer pieces. So I need to use a jump ring, a round jump ring that's not too big because I don't want it slipping over these spacers. These are about 5 millimeters in diameter. And I think that my larger round ones will not hold, I think it'll slip over, so I don't want to use those. They're too big. So I'll use these smaller. We have a 4 millimeter. It's a finer gauge round jump ring. You could use an oval jump ring too. Whatever works for you or whatever you happen to have. And I'm just going to start threading some on. Kind of use the magic. Debbie, doesn't the magic crimper kind of make a crimp tube into like a ball? I don't think that those would work with this. I think you need the traditional, for one thing, I don't think they'd be big enough. I think that the opening of a pair of magic crimpers, I have some, let me grab them. They're very small for making that little ball from like a 2 millimeter crimp tube. So those would not work. I guess they'd work in the sense that they would just flatten it and leave a tiny little ball-shaped protrusion in the center. I don't know. If you decide to try that, let me know. I want to see, I want to know how that comes out. All right, so I'm just going to, again, I'm going to alternate my little gold and silver spacers. That seems like enough. And then I need to put the jump ring on that charm before I can string it on. So remember I was talking about opposed loop charms and, Lynn is saying this could be made into an anklet easily. Yeah, I agree, Lynn. These would be cute anklets. Opposed loop charm and what we call an inline. I don't know that our phrases that we use to describe them are like industry-wide. That's just how we've come to describe them in-house, opposed loop and inline loop. So you can see this one needs jump ring, this one doesn't. Yeah, Jan's saying that the 2x2, the little small crimp tubes would need to fit on the leather. And still, then you wouldn't have a loop. So I think that would work. All right. Linda, I almost pulled out I actually did pull out the moon face charms. They would absolutely work. They are made, Linda's asking about these wonderful little, the little charm set we came out with last year. I think it was in 2021, maybe 2020. But they are, they come in a set that has a full moon and a half moon and a quarter moon, 2 of the quarter moons and 2 of the half moons. And they also have those opposed loops that are nice and roomy. So those, I nearly thought that I would use those for one of these bracelets instead, because I think that would look really cute. So definitely, those would work. Hello, Jessica. Thanks for popping in. Okay, I'm off balance. I went too crazy on one side and I added too many spacers. All right, so I got all of my spacers on. And it is important to make sure you got everything right before you attach the other side, because once you attach this, they're stuck. So, double check your pattern, your sequence of beads, make sure it's what you intended. I don't know about you guys, but lots of times I find things were not what I intended. Got to restring. All right, so again, with the large crimping pliers, I'm using that rear notch. Squeezing on one side, and I'm going to test it, and I can leave it there, or I can spin it around and squeeze on the other side too. Okay. And then again, we're just going to attach a little clasp component. And you could use, wouldn't have to be a lobster clasp for this. You could definitely use anything you wanted. A very small toggle would look nice. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what else I would use. But a toggle would work well. Maybe one of our little magnetics would work. We have one magnetic that's particularly small, but it seems like it's more clasp than a tiny bracelet like this needs. So I would go with the lobsters or a very small toggle. Yes, Sandra, this is 2mm cord. If you follow that link up in the description that goes to the inspiration page, that will give you all the details that you need for making these. I'll attach that larger one after. Okay, I love this one. There we go. So there you go. This is a super easy technique. So easy that just maybe by itself it's not all that interesting, but doing them in a stack with several colors and maybe mixing up the charms, pretty fun, I think. So, hope you enjoyed that. I might wear this one today. It kind of goes with my dress, maybe. What is the piece called that you crimped? That Carmen is asking what the little piece is. Let me switch this right back so I can show her that. Carmen, we're crimping. The cord ends that we're crimping are our 2mm cord ends. We have them in 2 styles. This one is our palace. It's kind of got a plain surface. And then this one with the etched design is called our temple. And it's our 2mm cord ends. And there is a comment further up in the comments that's a link to, wait, did I do that? Did I give you guys a link that just goes right to those crimp ends? I don't think I did. But if you go to the inspiration page, so there's a link to the inspiration page up in the description, that tells you you can get there to the cord ends and get more information about them. As always, you guys, if you make a variation of these, have some fun with the idea, please share them with us. You can either tag us on Instagram or you can post them on our Facebook page. So we'd love to see the work that you guys do. So thanks. That's it. It's a short and sweet how-to today. Sorry for the glitchy sound stuff at the beginning. I think on YouTube I might be able to edit that out, but I can't on Facebook, but whatever. So if you're coming in to watch this later, I don't know, bear with us. We'll see you guys soon. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next week, but I will post. I usually do that post the Saturday before our live demos are always on a Tuesday morning. So that announcement, that event announcement will pop up on Saturday, I think. So watch for that. And you guys have a great week. Make lots of stuff, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Bye.